Carlsville, Carlsville, we love you. Today we're here to talk about the most underrated Goosebumps story, alright? And of course I'm rocking the suit. I only rock the suit for 10 out of 10 stories. And of course this doesn't get a 10 out of 10. However, this has one of possibly my most favorite Goosebumps villain ever in it. One of the most charismatic, funny, quick-witted, dripped up, over-the-top, charismatic guys that I know as villains in Goosebumps, okay? And on top of that, it's a really fun episode. It's got a good cast of characters, and it actually has probably some of the best pacing in terms of Goosebumps episodes from the TV show because it's the only three-parter, meaning you get 60 minutes to flesh out the story, take your time, have some fun, grab a bite to eat, and enjoy being a part of the cult of Carl. That's right, I am a part of the cult of Carl. His shrine is in my closet. No, I'm not going to show you. That's taboo. Now, of course, I could be praying to a lot better things. All right, I know Cthulhu's like going straight down the bottom of the hill. That's not what you pray to. But, the cult of Carl, me praying to his shrine, all I've really gotten so far is just floating baseballs that pop up in the back of my room with teeth on them. And I get pig girls offering me lemonade. But it could be a lot worse. All right, I got to be grateful. It could be a lot worse. I could be a Night of the Living Dummy 3 book fan. That's bottom of the rung. But today we're going to be talking about Chillogy. That's why I'm rocking the suit. I feel like Carl would probably rock a suit too. Probably a little bit more glittery and dripped up than this one. But nonetheless, we are here to talk about the most underrated Goosebumps story, in my opinion, which is Chillogy. Now, you might be turning your heads, giving me a little quick The Rock eye, raise that eyebrow. What do you mean the most underrated Goosebumps story? Because there's a lot of underrated Goosebumps books out there that are better stories than this one. So why would this one be, in my opinion, the most underrated? And that's because, unfortunately, this story has been put into a box by a lot of Goosebumps fans out there. And the reason why is because it has a very negative connotation to it. And that's the fact that it's a TV-only story. That's right. That means that this story has no association with Stein whatsoever. Maybe he, greenlit it or, took a look at it, but he doesn't have any direct involvement with it. This is not based off a book. This is not based off a short story. This is not even based off a magazine short story or something that was, within a contest. This is purely by the directors of Goosebumps, Dan Angel and Billy. And that alone makes it a little bit, it kind of shuns it by a lot of the Goosebumps fans because they're like, wait. This has no involvement of Stein. This is not a Stein story. This is not based off a book. This is a TV show only episode. They decided to make their own thing when they could have adapted another book instead. Man, we're not going to give it a chance. That too, it's a three-parter. It takes up 3 episodes. That's 3 episodes that could have went towards 3 different books, or a 2-parter towards a great book and then a short story. So this thing is just eating up my episode format, and it's taking me away from getting stories adapted. That is true to an extent. However, this is a great, really, really fun story, and it has probably one of the most iconic, best villains ever. Carl, in my opinion, is one of the most fun villains. The actor does him tremendous justice. He plays an over-the-top role. He's very charismatic, and he's a very powerful and sinister Goosebumps villain because in this story, for those who don't know, maybe we should go over that first. What is Chillogy about, and why is Carl so integral to my ranking? Why is the overall fun aspect of the story so integral to my ranking and idea of it being underrated? Well, it's integrated within the story itself. This story, the 3-parter, is about these group of kids who live in the suburb, pretty typical for Goosebumps. However, the first main character, the main distinction about her, aside from the fact that her as an adult in that hospital show makes her super duper hot, and she's definitely going to be getting a couple DMs from me. I'll be getting blocked within the next month for sure. The main thing about her is that her kid character is basically obsessed with money. So she has some friends along the block, these sets of brothers. who have this garage sale. And at this garage sale, you can see that she tries to hustle them. She tries to use her financial knowledge to basically get a quick collectible in that she can sell for higher. And you see that even in her family life, she's very money oriented. She even applies interest and loans to her own brother, which is funny, but it also kind of shows her character. Very egotistical, although charismatic to a sense. And what ends up happening is that one day, her mom basically gets sick of it and she tells her, you know what, forget all this money stuff, forget going out every day. I need you to go upstairs and go clean the attic. And of course, she's very, standoffish. She doesn't want to do it. But she ends up heading up to the attic. And in the attic, she finds this miniature town, basically like a replica miniature town that's called Carlsville. And this collectible, basically town, this souvenir, is completely within its full, pretty much mint condition, aside from the dust and stuff. If you clean it up, it's in mint condition. It looks super valuable, looks super rare. So right away, she gets dollar signs. She gets the dollar signs like Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob. She's ready to sell this thing. But her mom heads up there, sees it, and she goes, you know what? Forget about the monetary value. You take care of this town and let you and your brother share it. You guys could enjoy it together. And, Jessica, the main character, right away is like, oh my God, I wanted to get a quick buck off of it and now I have to enjoy it. You know what? I don't want to deal with this. So, she's contemplating what to do. And then she ends up getting a phone call. And this phone call basically changes the entire story into what the main conundrum behind this whole storyline is, which is that when she picks up the phone call, she realizes that it's not coming from her phone in real life. It's coming from a phone booth inside of the miniature town of Carlsville. Once she picks it up, right away, she gets sucked into the miniature town, and right then and there, you get introduced to Carl. Carl is this man, this very powerful, basically mayor slash leader slash dimensional figure that basically controls and has full power over this town that she gets sucked in. And right away, he goes up to her. He knows her by the name. He basically knows who she is. And she's like, how does this stranger know me? Where am I? How did I end up here? And he gives her a business proposition that, you know what, you're so more money oriented, you love making money. And right away, she's like, how does he know all this stuff about me? Stalker alert. But of course, he knows everything about her desires, her interests. He gives her a business proposition to sell some lemonade because he knows that she's very money oriented and she might be able to make a quick buck. But hidden behind all this is a game. He's really testing her. And he's like, all right, you could sell this lemonade. However, if you go over the price or you get too money greedy, let's just say some negative consequences can come with that. And let's say you get a little bit of the moral of the story, which is that don't be over greedy, don't be too power hungry, because there may be a power hungry egomaniac with a lot of interdimensional powers that may be involving you within some Ponzi scheme. And that's what ends up happening. She ends up getting some negative consequences, and it gets very dark. There is, it's spoken in a funny way, but this town's citizens are basically like the cult of Carl. That's what I call them. They are the cult of Carl. They're all servants of Carl. They all listen to Carl. They all revere Carl. He's the main leader and the owner of the town. And they basically, kind of in a funny way, but they basically say they're going to murder the girl for Carl. They're going to murder her and eat her. Yeah, this cult of Carl straight up basically admits that they're going to kill the girl and murder her for her messing with the town because she messed up the game that Carl basically set up for her. And right away she gets into a very terrible situation. She may or may not be able to get out of it. And although she feels like she's found a solution to get rid of this town, this plays into the second and third parter of this episode segment, which is the fact that this town gets passed on to some of her loved ones and friends who don't know anything about the secrets of the town, and then they get involved. The brother of the siblings that we saw before that were at the garage sale selling their collectibles, they get involved. And let's just say they have a baseball themed game that happens with them because that main kid wants to be a good baseball player. He always sucks when he plays. He's always put on the bench. And one day when he's brought in during a game because of some technical rules, he ends up humiliating himself. And he feels like he can't do anything right, even though his parents keep on encouraging him to keep trying. And he ends up within Carl's game because something ends up happening. He gets sucked into the world. And you get this awesome episode segment where you get the Carl national anthem, the one I just sung, "We Love You, Carl." You have Carl playing like multiple different characters at once. You have this crazy baseball game where reality is being warped. There's pitchers being formed out of nowhere, players being formed out of nowhere. They transform into monsters. You get this terrifying scene of this baseball floating up, and it rips open the leather, and there's straight monstrous sets of teeth, grinding their teeth, inside the baseball. I was like, what the? And, he has to go to base. The base keeps on traveling further and further and further. The space gets warped. The ground turns into this magma field that he has to walk over, tightrope style. Like, it is such a fun episode. And then the third segment, called Escape from Carlsville, is essentially the final person in the story getting affected. And now the previous two who got sucked in the other two episodes basically have to find a way to finally defeat Carl, finally defeat this town, and find a way to get rid of it. And let's just say it gets very action-packed, it gets very creepy. Again, more stuff about the cult with Carl, and the hidden powers that he has, the manipulation that he can form onto people, and they may or may not be successful towards the end, with a little bit of a twist saying that the nightmare may not be over fully. That is essentially Chillogy, and the main reasons I absolutely love it is, again, it has one of the most iconic, best villains in it. You have a really great set of kid characters. Oftentimes with Goosebumps, a lot of the kid characters feel very hollow, very cookie cutter. They don't feel like they have a lot of personality to them, but each character in this story is given their own personality traits, and I actually like it. And even the parents are bearable. I like the parents for some of these kids. In the second episode, I think his name was Matt Erickson. That's the main character kid's name, the baseball player kid. His parents are super nice and encouraging. And I was like, this is good to see. Usually in Goosebumps, you get piece of crap parents who are always downplaying their kids and never listen to them. These parents are super encouraging and trying to make them feel warm and loved. I was like, it was shout out to the parents. And the parents may or may not save the day. That's rare. Parents being the saviors in a Goosebumps book, that is rare. That is very rare. A lot of the time they're just negligent, but not this time. So you get that aspect. Again, the main character, Jessica, who's in the first episode, she's really cool, very charismatic. Her money personality trait is pretty quirky. She's very money oriented. And, when you get the moral introduced to the game involved with her, it doesn't feel forced. It's at some points it's pretty corny, but it's meant to be like, pretty hokey, just, fun. But you kind of get the sense like, yeah, she's really, her ego is catching up to her. Her lack of emotional sense is catching up to her. And she really does feel regret, and you can feel the sense of dread that she has. This is a very terrifying situation. And she does grow from that. She becomes more appreciative of the people around her. And in that way, Carlsville is helping these characters. The baseball player kid, Matt Erickson, I think his name is. He was super cool. I feel really bad for him. We've all been, I feel like we've all been at the place where we want to be really successful at something, but we're not able to be as talented as some other people are, despite our passion for it. And you beat yourself up, you feel humiliated, you're very hard on yourself. I've had this involving some sports that I did. I used to do martial arts back in the day, and I was very hard at myself, for karate. Outside, I was very fun-loving, comedic guy, but inside, I was very serious. I was always trying to train, trying to get better. And at a certain point, I was not getting better when I got later into my belts. And I got very hard on myself. I was like, I'm not growing. I feel like I'm kind of falling behind. And that's what this kid is. He feels like even though I have all the passion, even though I really want to become a baseball star, I cannot get past these hurdles. And as soon as Carl finds out that little weakness within you, he gets you. And that's how these games basically hold more weight. It's because the fact that Carl is analyzing these kids, he's finding out their specific traits and weaknesses, and he basically, predatorizes on it. He's a predator. He finds it. Not that way. Relax, Child Protective Services. Not that way. Yo, Chris Hansen. Yo, Chris. I didn't mean it that way. Don't do that. I cannot get BD Horror 445 right now. All right. I meant as in he's preying upon these kids. Let me finish. He's preying upon these kids by finding their weaknesses and then manipulating them to kill them. See, now you can't get me. SWAT might be able to get me. CPS might still be able to get me. But you can't get me though, so we're safe. Carl, is a great villain because he preys on people's weaknesses, incorporates that within very intricate, complex games, has morals within it, and overall that's what makes him such a great and effective villain. And of course, the escape, very intense, very scary, very action-packed. And at a certain point as a watcher, you're like, how could these guys beat him? You know, you cannot beat this man inside of Carlsville. And the only way they can save the last character is they have to basically go back into Carlsville. They have to go from escaping Carlsville, this terrifying town that's going to basically ruin their lives, to having to force to go back in there and find a way to defeat it. And of course, they luck out, they get outside forces, but it's very, very intense. It's a whole lot of fun, and I would recommend it. I feel like a lot of the community out there does not give this justice because it's a TV-only, episode. People don't take it seriously. People might think it's hokey at certain parts, but I feel like it really is a hidden gem of Goosebumps. And for all of you out there who have not checked out Chillogy, or maybe you just like casually watched it and you didn't really think much of it, I would suggest just giving it a watch for the first time or rewatch it and see how you feel. I feel like it's a super fun journey. I feel like it's a really cool concept that Stein may have taken from at a certain point in his career if it wasn't already done. I feel like it definitely would be a story he would take because it's a really great premise. And you even have Escape from Carlsville games and merchandise that show that this was really cool back in the day, but over time it hasn't gotten the recognition. So if anything, I hope this video gives this story the recognition again that it deserves. I hope I can sort of reignite the idea of Trilogy within people's minds, and I hope that everybody checks it out. And for those of you who didn't like it at first, give it a second chance. Take my words of wisdom and enjoy it for what it is. Have a good time. Become a part of the cult of Carl, and obviously build a shrine within your closets. That's all I have for today's discussion video on the most underrated Goosebumps story, in my opinion. So far, this is where it's at, and for a number of reasons that I mentioned, I feel like this may very well be the one. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to my psychopathic rants and rambles. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy your day. Stay cool, stay classy, stay dripped up, stay a part of the cult community of Carl. Be sure to stay away from any board games unless it's Monopoly. That one's fire. What was the one where you like bop it? Not the bop it toy, but like the one where you like bop the dice. That one was cool too. And Candyland. Low key, is there a Candyland horror story? We need that. Anyway, if you like this video, hit that subscribe button and hit that like button. They're both free ways to support me, and by you guys hitting the subscribe button and like button, lets me know you guys are engaged with the content, you like these kind of videos. And for all of you that participated in the poll that I put on my community post, thank you. All those reviews are going to be coming out in the order of the ranking. This was the highest ranked one, so that's why it came out first. And yeah, guys, subscribe, like, stay tuned for more content to come. And that's all I have for today. Deuces. Maybe I should make BD Horrorville. Is that something you guys want? Should I call you guys the cult of BD Horror? Is that what I should do? Do I need BD Horrorsville to become a part of merchandise within the future? We might have to make it happen, people. Because we love you. BD Horror. Horror, not horror. Get your mind out the gutter.